Well, hello. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. Thanks for just dropping in to say hello. I'm just here in my study and I want to share something with you um, that kind of was inspired by a psalm. So I just open up my Bible here, Psalm 90, verse 14. And it's just a powerful, the whole psalm is just lovely, but there's a powerful verse that I've actually memorized, just meditated on. And one morning, as I was again just meditating on this scripture, it just really leapt out to me, and I began to kind of think about, okay, so what would that mean, or what does that look like? And this is what it says, and then I'll further explain. And then I want to read a poem to you that I wrote that was inspired by this verse. It's Psalm 90, verse 14. It says, "Satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love, so that we would rejoice and be glad all of our days." Beautiful, man, just like beautiful revelation. Satisfy me in the morning with your steadfast love. And what would be the result? That I would rejoice and be glad forever, all of my days, that I would have joy and gladness because of the satisfaction in the steadfast love of God. And man, isn't that the place where we should live, where every day his mercies are new, his grace is sufficient, and every day we can come boldly and confidently into his throne room of grace to receive, really actually his throne of grace, to receive mercy and grace in our time of need. So man, I just love that. Just want to be satisfied in his love every day. But where this happened is what stirred in me. As I was meditating on that verse again, I began to think, man, yeah, what does that actually look like? Like, what would that look like to be satisfied in his steadfast love every morning? And that particular morning, I had woken up and, really early got my cup of coffee, kind of my typical morning routine, and came down here to my study, which is actually called the Bethany Prayer Room, just in honor of Mary of Bethany, a lover of Christ. And I'm just here in my Bethany prayer room and just reflecting again on that psalm. And it was a snowy day, and I had opened the window curtains here, and just opened it up. And honestly, it had snow. It had had a snowfall that night, and there was snow all over the floor. There was snow all over the trees. And as I just reflected on, what does that look like to be satisfied in His love every day? And yes, there's aspects of, encounter or just hearing His voice, encountering His presence. But then I began to think about, how He can be seen in nature and in creation. He can be experienced through the touch of the loving touch or the loving words and embrace of a friend or a family member. The love found in union and marriage with my wife Meredith, being a dad with my kids, and I just started to go down and down the list of all these various aspects of how we could be satisfied in the love of God every day. But then this psalm kind of came out, or this little poem. I guess it could be a psalm, but this little poem I wrote called "Reflections on a Snowy Day," and it was specifically following that train of thought of, wow, I can be satisfied in the love of God through just looking at and enjoying creation and nature. There are so many ways that we can encounter the love of God. So, anyways, this is the poem. It's called Reflections on a Snowy Day. And I'll read this to you. And here we go. The sun rises over the snow covered horizon. Chirping morning melodies ripple through the air. Dusted trees begin to shimmer in the light. Orange and yellow hues cascade across the sky and hills. Night's darkness rolls off the ridges. A red pop of color, a cardinal resting in the white bushes. A squirrel busies herself, gathering walnuts from the white forest floor. This snowy day leans close, whispering soft words of affection, and beneath the stillness, warmth settles gently in my chest. So there it is, Reflections on a Snowy Morning, inspired by Psalm 90, verse 14. And I love creativity. There's something about creating with God. Even if it did really, in some ways, it's just for you. Like, yeah, it's great to share it with others. Like I'm sharing it with you now. But man, it creating with God is so therapeutic. It's healing. It slows you down. I love that slowed down, meditative contemplative state, reflective state that we can come in with God. Um, so I hope this little poem of mine encourages you, and the Psalms as well, and maybe even just inspires you to begin to create as well with God, and to slow down. We live in such a hurried, busy world, and it's so good to slow down. Maybe you could have your own little study, your own little place where you could just go and have morning musings, just musing with God, reflecting with Him, slowing down and sitting in His presence, and just enjoying the conversation with your Creator. So, hope this blesses you. And until next time, have a great day.